With that established as, here's what a clan looks like, and it's messy because there's very strong similarities with things in the Highlands and Lowlands. And you mentioned the Gordons earlier, because they had something that looked, even though, and I understand that like at the time they may have been like, no, that's those guys, but their feud with the Forbes, that looked a lot like a clan feud. And the two sides look a lot like clans, where you have a head, you have branches, some of them close, some of them more distantly related, but all acknowledging one person as the chief, and they're just rallying everybody. I know that not every member of their force was related to them, but the core of it was built on kinship, and they fought each other. And maybe they, at some point in that, I don't know if it was the Marian Civil War or some other bigger political event that was going on, but sure looked like a clan feud. So
yeah. No, I totally agree. I think sometimes I got really fascinated by the Gordons of Huntly and the Campbells of Argyll. I think often operates very similar in terms of the organization of the family, clan, however you want to look at, that there are cadet branches, the cohesion they maintain between those cadet branches. At times, when the chief or lord or earl is called away, someone else is there to delegate. You see them operating on a very similar level, and yet, the Gordons would have hated being labeled a clan, and yet the Campbells absolutely understood their and really prided themselves on their place within Gaelic society and Gaelic culture.
I think that because of centuries of maybe some McDonald propaganda, that the Campbells are looked like as like, oh, you guys are about Lowland, you guys are about most 70% Lowland anyway, like you're barely. And the more I read about them, I've read Stephen Boardman's work on them, they were, and I think they get hate because they were good at operating in both spheres, and they succeeded. Not that they did some things that if I was a neighboring clan, I wouldn't have been a big fan of, like if I was a Lamont. but
Yeah.
but they, like I think you pointed it out, they were a pretty like West Highland.
Yeah, and the Campbells are ahead of the game before anybody else. They're making sure that everything's written down and documented so that they know exactly what land they have, and if anybody tries to take it from them, they have that legal claim. Not that always works, but the Campbells are powerful enough to enforce a legal claim. So they're way ahead of other clans, and they adapt. And yeah, they straddle that. They operate really well in both worlds. Jane Dawson's work on the Fifth Earl as well. She says this is somebody who is very much at home in the Highlands and the West Highlands and able to operate there, but also very much at home at court and able to operate on a national level. And you see that really with the Fifth and Sixth Earls, I think, of Huntly. They will operate in their locality. I don't think they really like coming to court, the Huntleys, actually, much like Argyll. They'll come and they'll do it if they need to, but they would much rather be left alone in their own territory because that's theirs. And it's very similar. But the Campbells have suffered. I think the 17th century is a lot to answer for Campbells and, Covenanters versus the Royalists, all of that. And again, that gets projected back as,
Yeah, I agree.